Ahora sí.
So we want to welcome everyone tonight. We are here tonight for the holiday concert with Sol y Canto, which we're very happy and excited about. But before we get into that, we want to finish off our Las Comadres speaker series for the year. And so Rosi Amador has agreed to discuss with us her life in song. It will be a brief presentation, and then of course we'll get down to the fun part, which is the holiday concert. Okay, so I can tell you that Rosi Amador got her love of Latin American rhythms and musical styles from her performer parents. She will share with us tonight her experiences of being a Latina in the world of music. A born entrepreneur, Rosi will discuss her roles as company director for Sol y Canto, founder of MusicAmador, a musical agency, and she was president or is president of Latin music division of the Roots Agency and founder of Amador Bilingual Voice-Overs. So Rosi, tell us.
Ok, muy bien, thank you. I don't have to say anything, ya lo dijiste todito. Mentira, mentira. That's just my professional life. My life in song, I love this invitation because I think no one has ever asked for that. Muchas gracias, Maria and Nora, for coming up with that theme. Music and singing is my passion. It's the core of my life. And no matter what else I do in order to make a living, because we did make our living for many years from just music, it is always my first love and my passion. And many of you know that, who already know me very well, especially Nora. We go way back, way back. But so I thought I'd give you a little, like, mi trayectoria, you know, a little sense of my history. The way I started singing as a child. My parents claimed that it was very hard for me to eat because I would sing at the dinner table, and they had to set a rule: no singing at the table, no se puede cantar. So I had to observe that, and I remember once being sent to the principal in first grade because it was almost my turn to sing, and I was already singing it to my friend. Y me mandaron a la principal, and I was just mortified, and they called my mom and everything, and she came and she said, what did she do wrong? She was singing out of turn. My mother was like, you gotta be kidding me. So true story that I just thought of as I was preparing for this. So in 1984, after many years of taking voice lessons and singing in choruses, I moved to the States. I moved to the Boston area to explore possibilities. I wasn't sure what career I wanted, but my parents were both performers. My mom was an actress, a singer, and a dancer, and my father was an actor. And they settled in Puerto Rico. He was from Argentina, and she was from New York, but my grandma was from Puerto Rico, so Puerto Rico is me, you know. And they settled in Puerto Rico, and they decided, no, you know what, we have to quit show business and get serious. And they became entrepreneurs and started a business that had nothing to do with music. However, prior to that, my mother would hold me in her arms as a baby, and she would rehearse for her commercials for Campbell's. They said, yo no sé si es verdad o no, that my first word was Campbell. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's what they told me. My first word was Campbell. So maybe it's true, maybe it's not. But in any case, my grandma then told me that she would teach. My grandma was a frustrated opera singer from Adjuntas, from the mountains in Puerto Rico. And she told me that she would hold me in her arms and she would sing the solfege to me, you know. So la da 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 da. And she claims that I did that as a baby too. So I don't know all of these stories. I don't know if I believe them or not, but they're kind of fun. I don't get to tell them very often, so you get to hear them, my comadre sisters. But in 1984, I had the opportunity to go to Nicaragua on a cultural exchange tour during a pretty tumultuous time in that country. And that's how I met my husband, Brian, preparing for that trip. It was a cultural exchange tour. And what we experienced there ended up changing our lives because we sang in parks, in festivals, in schools, in factories. And, you know, as you know, at that time, it was a country that was being remade. Unfortunately, things have not gone very well. But at that time, it was a country being reborn. And a lot of people were involved in its rebirth. And we came back very inspired to tell their story. So we were sort of born out of what is known as the Nueva Canción, the New Song movement, which was a protest song movement. And we came back to our country, and our mission was to help tell the story of what was going on in Central America based on what we saw with our own eyes, instead of the news that was being reported here, which was, whatever. I won't go into that's a long story, a whole other program. But the group was called Flor de Caña, which was actually the name of a Nicaraguan rum. Some of you may know that. And we it wasn't available here, so we said, it's a beautiful name. Let's let's use it. So that group lasted for 10 years, and we really were born out of the New Song movement and the Solidarity movement, rather, the Central America Solidarity movement. We toured all over the country. It really happened quite organically. It was a few of us who had gone on the trip and a couple of other people. And then when it came to an end, because people's paths started diverging after 10 years and 3 albums and many tours, and some people started having kids, Brian and I kind of looked at each other and said, ¿Y ahora qué? And we couldn't think of anything else to do but more music. So we started Sol y Canto in 1994. And we knew that at some point we would want to have kids. Well, the kids came, the twins came 2 years later. So in 96, our lives changed dramatically. And while they were still teeny, we could tour with them. So I took them on the road. We had a little helper. We got all kinds of help while I still sang. And Sol y Canto, incidentally, which is the new band that we've had for 27 years now, maintained the original flavor of Flor de Caña in terms of our mission has always been to promote cross-cultural understanding and to erase boundaries particularly between North American and Latin American people, and to tell our stories. That's why we do music from all over Latin America, and Brian's our main composer. I mean, I've composed a few things in my life, like this little, but he's our main composer. I love to sing what he composes and the music of others that we love. And we always have maintained that desire to use our music sort of as Latin cultural ambassadors to help share our stories. And I believe that's what we have done for many years, particularly in the Boston area, but all over the country and a little bit all over the world. So we've continued to do that. And then as my kids started growing, it got a little complicated, the singing and the touring. And we continued it for quite a while. But while they were in my belly, I decided to start a music agency that I called MusicAmador. And I thought, well, I'm probably going to tour less porque I have these 2 kids and I think I want to stick around more. And you can only make your living when you tour a lot. So I started this agency. I started representing wonderful music ensembles and dance even from Peru, from Puerto Rico, from Venezuela. I mean, it was wonderful. The only problem is that it didn't make me any money. So the entrepreneur part of me didn't want to give up because I kept saying, no, I'm building it. It's going to be okay. Just give me another 10 years. Meanwhile, my father, who's like the perennial entrepreneur, would say, mi amor, it's been 3 years and you haven't made any money. Deja eso. And I'm like, no. You don't understand. I'm investing. Guess what? Papi was kind of right, but I don't regret a thing because as any entrepreneur who's failed can tell you, and I'm sure that many among you are probably entrepreneurs, that's how you learn. And I learned from my mistakes. And I actually tried one more thing before I left the world of music agencies. I became the vice president of the Roots Agency, which basically means that I merged with a partner who was based in New Jersey, who had North American folk acts, and he wanted me to represent and bring my expertise. Did that for a few years, and I found I was working so hard, and I could barely see my kids, and I said, pero qué pasa aquí? That doesn't make any sense. So then I realized, okay, I'm going to have to leave this love of helping other artists and do some self-nurturing and dedicate more time to my family and going back to my music. But then it turns out that one of our fellow musicians in the Boston area, I keep looking at at this and not the camera. I just realized that. Okay, I'll look at the camera now so you can see me, my eyes. So then we got this invitation from this wonderful colleague who taught poetry and music to kids in the schools in Massachusetts, and he said, you guys, have seen you perform so much for kids. You're wonderful music educators. Why don't you come and record these stories and sing some songs for Scholastic? And we went into a recording studio, and we had so much fun. And so the word started spreading among the studios that we were bilingual, because we came in speaking in English, but we were singing in Spanish and narrating stories in Spanish. And it kind of stuck, and we fell in love with it. So by the time my kids reached middle school, and I really felt like this is really not a good time for us to be touring, I thought, you know what? This is what we should do next. And I started looking into it, and I said, I'm never going to leave music, ever. I mean, as a matter of fact, we kind of grieved for a while when we weren't performing as often. But I realized that if I needed balance in my life, and if I wanted to see my kids, and I waited a long time, I started at 37, I needed to make a big, big change. And so that's when we started doing voiceovers in English and Spanish. And so now I founded with my husband Amador Bilingual Voice-Overs in 2010 officially is when we got our certificate, even though we had started like 20 years before. And now we have a home studio downstairs, and we record for so many different companies, many of whom I'm a big believer in what you want in the universe. You just put it out. You just keep putting it out there, and it comes to you. I mean, you have to do what you do well. I think by this time I've put in a lot of homework, studied with a lot of coaches, and paid my dues. So we get to work with wonderful companies that do a lot of health narration, education, health education, and of course we also do commercials. We do a lot of things for the Department of Public Health here in Massachusetts, and for the CDC, and for NASA, and a lot for PBS. We've done so many fun projects for global clients. I'm really honored that myself, my husband Brian, and our children, who are 25, they're not children anymore, Alisa and Zia, all are engaged in our family business. However, Alisa is now dedicated herself to her blossoming career as a singer-songwriter, a bilingual singer-songwriter. And Zia also actually performs and composes, although he's finishing college at Massachusetts College of Art. So that's pending. But anyway, our whole family is very committed to music and keeping it in our lives. And most recently, recently in the last 10 years, maybe a little more, I started studying improvisational singing, sometimes called circle singing. And I found a mentor in a wonderful woman by the name of Rhiannon, who works a lot with Bobby McFerrin, among others. And my life has really, truly shifted. And particularly during the pandemic, I got to study a lot with her, because usually she would travel around the country and give an occasional workshop that I could go to, in Atlanta, or I brought her to Boston. But all of a sudden the pandemic came, we were all stuck in our houses, and she adapted, and she started doing workshops. And I have met the most wonderful people who I've become friends with online. I haven't even met them in person, and we consider each other dear, dear friends. And I hope next year to be able to attend an event that she's doing, a series of workshops in the flesh. It all depends on COVID, but vamos a ver, we hope so. I also studied a lot of body percussion, so you'll see some of that as well with a group in Brazil called Música do Círculo, and they specialize in body percussion and NVC, nonviolent communication. It's a wonderful group that brings people together in parks and then teaches workshops, and they also migrated to doing stuff online, which gave me the opportunity to learn. So I'm still very much of a beginner, but it's so much fun. Music permeates my life, and it will always be at the center. And what I hope for my future, and what I'm building towards as I envision my future, is to basically root my life in music. I love my voiceover work, and I enjoy it thoroughly, and I will continue to do it for as long as I can. But my vision of my future is to travel to places like Austin, like Puerto Rico, like many of where all of you are from, and find friends and do concerts there. And then I can always record wherever I am. And many of the people here, some of you, my wonderful virtual assistant Jessica is here, my friend Catalina is here, who's also a voiceover artist, and my friend Beatriz is a musician and educator. She's here from Boston. I'm so excited that you guys are here. And you know me. So it's a very flexible life, and it's one that thankfully I can create the way I want it. I can shape it the way I want it, and I know I'm very, very grateful for that opportunity that, I have created it, but it also, my passions align with a style of life that can be adapted to wherever you are. So it doesn't matter where I go, I can do what I love. I can find other improvisational singers, I can find other Latin musicians too. I can find recording studios and keep music at the center of my life. So I plan to continue using music to do what it does best, which is to keep building community, to bring people together. And as long as I have my voice, and mind you, I had some trouble in the last 2 years, so I've been getting a lot of help for some vocal issues that I am not giving up, and I'm getting better. I feel that music is one of the ways that that my husband and I can contribute to the world. It's our way of promoting peace and understanding. And I'm going to tell you a quick little story. I don't know if my 15 minutes are up or not, but I think you'll like the story. This fall, we went for the first time and we were able to check an item off our bucket list. We went to the Camino de Santiago in northern Spain, which is a pilgrimage that has been done for over 1,000 years. We didn't go for religious reasons. It was more of a adventure and spiritual quest. And because of COVID, we didn't want to stay in places with lots of other people, and it's kind of fashionable to go and stay in albergues, and be with many other people. We were like, I don't want to catch COVID, Plus, I'm not good at sleeping through people snoring, so I don't think so. And maybe I snore. Who knows, right? So I said, let's go into private rooms. And then we realized, oh my God, we're never going to meet anybody because it was just the two of us, and you're walking solitos, And finally, on the third or fourth day, I said to Brian, you know what? The only way we're going to meet people is if we pull out the guitar. He bought a special travel guitar, beautiful little guitar, and start singing. And he wrote this beautiful song that's on our latest CD, which Nora has, and it's called Buen Camino. And it's all about the Camino and what it meant for us. It was a really life-changing experience to have gone. And we actually recorded that song on the Camino. And it's now on the Sol y Canto YouTube page with translation, with subtitles, if you want to check it out. But back to the story, on that third or maybe fourth day, he pulled out the guitar. We went into a breakfast room. We knew no one, but we were all pilgrims. We call ourselves the pilgrims, the caminantes. And I said, excuse me, con permiso. I made an announcement and I said, we are professional musicians and we are realizing this dream of many years. We're finally here. I don't know how many of you are here for the first time, the second time, third time, but we have a song for you. It's called Buen Camino. And we're going to dedicate it to you and to the people who are running this beautiful hostel or whatever. And we sang the song and we started making friends. So we have friends from all over the world that we met. People from Belgium, from Portugal, of course from Spain. There were lots of people from Spain, from Canarias, Islas Canarias, the US, Danish. I mean, I can't tell you. And it was because we sang. We sang for them and it opened their hearts. And also we took them by surprise. They, out of nowhere, these two people show up and they start singing. And the word spread. And in one place that we went, this French woman says, oh, you're the singers. So we had to sing for them too. So it was just so magical, to be able to walk. We walked 160 miles. We walked every day for about 10, 12, sometimes 16 miles a day. Sometimes 8 too, depending on how many mountains we were crossing. And it was an incredible experience. I highly recommend it to all of you, comadres. It really is fantastic. And it was a physical challenge, but we trained, we walked a lot. And music was at the core of that. And today we'll be sharing yet another song that was inspired by the Camino. So anyway, I hope I've covered.
No, you're good. You're
right?
good.
Right? My life in song, that's it. Also about entrepreneurship, about being a mother, about juggling, about wanting to be present. But that's the whole truth. I told you the whole truth. And I want to brindarles una bienvenida especial. I want to bid a special welcome to my friends who are not yet Comadres members. Thank you, Nora and Maria, for allowing me to invite them. My friend Jessica and Beatriz. You're not a comadre? I could have sworn you were already a comadre. So anyway, you should be a comadre. Comadres para las Americas is a wonderful organization. As you can see, there's just some of us here. And my friend Raquel is here. Wait a minute. My friend Raquel is here. She's a comadre. Guess what? I have to show you something. You see this? You see these pants? Comadre Raquel gave them to me el otro día. Gracias, Raquel. So, comadres, what does Las Comadres para las Américas do best? we help one another. We're here to lift one another, to celebrate one another, to find connections and ways of growing together and supporting one another. So JJ, that message is for you. I hope that you join. And I'm asking Nora, if she hasn't already, she probably did, to put in the chat the link for the specific page on Las Comadres para las Américas. It's a free organization. We're just here to help one another and to connect one another. And Catalina also, and anyone else who I imagine everyone else is already a member. But anyway, you're all invited.
And we didn't even have to pay for that endorsement. Thank
No.
you.
Gratis.
Thank you. Well, we do want to
You're
thank you
welcome.
for, rounding out our Las Comadres speaker series for the year. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having
and
me.
we wanna, yes, thank you.
I don't know
And
if
we wanna
anybody has
wish-
any questions. Did you want me
Any
to do any
questions?
questions? Por si acaso. It's fine if you don't, but if anybody does have questions. Thank you for the
We can put
corazoncito.
them in the
Lidia.
chat just in case something
Okay.
happens. But for now, we're going to move now to our concert series. So 1 second.